Well, I think if you look at the biblical capitalistic model, it goes all the way back to Canaan. I don't want to be too extremely biblical, but its foundation is a word. God gave home ownership, tribal property, the ability in an agrarian society to earn what you make. And if you worked harder, you could do better. That was what was part of the promised land. And I think in our generation, what's happened is that we have a lot of people who are at the bottom of the barrel financially and with opportunities who have lost sight of the fact that they can and should be empowered to rise up to take ownership of their own lives. What's missing in the Hispanic and Black communities, and what our dear friend with you from Dallas has done, is that he added churches and faith to the equation, and the church becomes a coach for individuals to relearn what should have been passed on generationally so that people can be taught how to fish instead of being on the handout system. The choices are clear. Trump has, in fact, a low unemployment level for all minorities. We've got the opportunity zones will bring jobs to the hood. We've got criminal justice reform, which is included in the opportunity zones, meaning people returning from prison, nonviolent offenders can get a job. We can revamp things on a capitalistic model, but we've got to choose Trump versus a socialistic nanny state solution.
Well, you mentioned churches making the big difference, and that's what rolled in and changed. Why are churches more effective than the government, for example? Why can't the government just get in there and we'll just solve the problem and here's plenty of money? And why does that fail and the churches succeed?
Well, let's look at a case study. A case study is the history of the war on poverty, which we saw for decades being lost and more people being enrolled in WIC, SNAP, and CHIP. Those are all acronyms for different welfare programs. And what happened when President George W. Bush came in, from the state of Texas, he had created a faith-based office for the purpose in the state of Texas, getting people off of government assistance and letting the church be the answer. So he took that to the White House when he became president. It became the faith-based office of the White House. And from there, he told every cabinet, whether it was Justice, HUD, USDA, Health and Human Services, or Education, you're going to have a faith component. And the goal is to take those programs that are pushed down through those agencies and take and bring in the church to be an answer. So for example, in Dallas, what we did is we partnered with the U.S. Justice Department. We created a task force that came into this 11th poorest zip code, most violent zip code, which, to help your viewers understand, was a 10 square mile area. It was 5,000 homes, 13 communities, 27,000 people. And this was the blight. It was a 100-year-old blight where Bonnie and Clyde lived. Wow. And all the crime that was for 100 years, and drugs and blight and crime came out of that zip code. So through the faith-based office, we created a criminal justice task force, and that task force led the effort with the church community to completely eradicate crime. And the way we did that is we went in and we created heat maps where we actually knew where every drug dealer, every prostitution house was, where all the car theft stings were, operations were. And then we created an economic housing team. We created a health and wellness team. We created an education team and a spiritual team.